Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today we're going to be taking a look at faux watercolor and actual watercolor using the Hedgehog Hollow January 2020 kit. This is the second attempt at this voiceover and video. I recorded it the first time and put it out there and forgot to mute the background noise, and I had a really bad toothache when I actually put the video and stuff together, and I have since had that fixed. But anyway, let's just say that this past week or week and a half has been a struggle because I've had the tooth issue going on. What I did with this card is, I made two cards, as you can see. I did one that had the background stamp in it, really bold, really bright, and then I did one with actual watercolor. I'm doing the one with actual watercolor first because that one does take a little bit more time because I'm drying between each layer. If you see me dancing suddenly with my hands in the camera, I was actually jamming really, really hard that day when I made the cards. I've been on a Motley Crue kick lately with the Dirt, the movie that came out and all that kind of stuff. I've just been on a really big Motley Crue kick lately, reliving my early glory days of dancing in my bedroom with the stereo cranked and mom screaming at me to turn down the horrible music. Anyway, so just kind of warn you there. And when I forgot to mute the background, all you could hear was this high-pitched squeal in the background of the first video that I did, and it was because it was nothing but Motley Crue on like 12 million speed. It was funny. Anyway, sorry about the bad video the first time, so here it is. This one I'm actually probably will be able to do the voiceover through the most of it. The other one I actually couldn't because I could barely talk. My jaw was just so sore from my tooth. So what I did for this one, as you could see, I actually heat embossed in white embossing powder on a piece of watercolor paper. I'm not picky about my watercolor paper because I'm not like doing big watercolors with fine brushes and a lot of detail and that kind of thing. I do watercolor mainly that's in a background or kind of splattery, very loose. I use a distress sprayer. The brushes that I use are the Nuvo watercolor brushes, and I really like them. I have no problems with them. The set comes with a bunch of different ones. I actually linked to a bigger set than what I have in the products that I use down below. And when you're doing this kind of thing, I did wet on wet. And wet on wet is going to give you a looser effect than if you do wet on dry, meaning that your paper is actually dry and you're taking a very wet brush to it. If you ever get little puddles in stuff that you're doing and you want to clean those puddles up before you let it dry or something like that, what you do is you dry your brush really, really well and take the brush to the puddle on the paper, and the brush will absorb that extra water. I wanted the puddles that were on my paper to be really dark concentrated color, and that's what you're going to get as you let it dry. If you let those puddles dry, you're going to get a darker concentration of color right there, and I wanted those hard lines in between the layers here. If you don't want the hard lines, then you need to fade it out more, add more water around the edges of it, and the color will fade out more. I wanted different layers of color in this, and I wanted darker in the center. My paper is a little bit larger than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I just added different layers of purples and blues and in here. And of course, if you layer a dark blue on top of a purple, it's going to give you a little bit different color than what it is in the palette. I am using the Altenew palette. I do love it. It gives really bright, vibrant color. And it's perfect for the kind of watercoloring that I do, which is literally what I'm doing here most of the time. I'll also maybe put some color in like a flower or that kind of thing. I'm not a big watercolor person on my cards, and I think maybe I'm more of a Copic colorist. If you've seen any of my historical videos, I haven't been lately, just mainly because when I had to go back to work, my hands hurt so bad. Just because of the kind of labor-intensive work that I'm doing, but that's gotten a whole lot better. My hands don't hurt near as much, and I'm going to try to get back into that, doing more Copic coloring. So, back to the card here. I did want a little bit softer edge on this, and as you can see, even after I have already dried this, you can still go back with a little bit of water on the brush And actually the water itself is just slightly tinted, which helped so much to bring some of that color out to the edge there and soften it up just a tad bit. It was a little bit harder than what I wanted, but as you can see, I'm just going to leave that and set it to the side. I was done with it. So I left the sentiment stamp in my Tim Holtz stamp platform there. And I grabbed my MISTI. It is still broken. I have not replaced it yet. I am going to do that this week. And I was just really careful as I was stamping it and made sure I didn't pull on it too much. And that's the only reason I haven't, because one of the hinges broke on it. Now, my MISTI is, this is an original MISTI. I mean, like, I bought it when the company first started making them kind of original MISTI. So it's ancient. The big flat watercolor background stamp that's in the Hedgehog Hollow kit this month, I had never used it, so I wanted to prep it really good. And because it's a big solid surface there to ink up, and I am inking this on watercolor paper. I'm using scrapbook.com ink, and I got cat hair in it. It's what happens when you have 2 cats living in the house, and at the time I had a sick kitty, and I had cat hair all over me because I was holding the cat all the time. She's much better, by the way. To prep the stamp, I actually put Versamark ink on it and then cleaned it with a cleaner, and then put Versamark ink on it again. Then took my hand and wiped it off, and then put Versamark ink on it again and stamped it off. And it allows the surface of the stamp to actually hold ink better. The more you use it, the more stained a stamp is, it actually works better. So don't freak out when your stamps get stained. Just go with it. Love on it. Doesn't matter. I wanted this splatters on this, so I actually pulled out some black acrylic paint, some Copic opaque white, and this is Perfect Pearls, I believe. Nope, I take that back. That particular one is the Hero Art Shimmer Mist. It's almost like Perfect Pearls. It's just not quite as opaque as Perfect Pearls. If you're going to use acrylic paint for this, a teeny tiny little dab will do you, and a little bit of water to it to thin it out, and then you can get your splatters. I didn't worry about it getting everywhere because it gets everywhere no matter what I do. Clean everything up, do the exact same thing with the Copic opaque white, and splatter it across my paper. Ta-da! And it's all done. Really cute. Gives that splattery effect there. Now, what you could do with your stamp here, I used a hybrid ink because I wanted it to be very defined around the edges of this. You could also do a distress ink and then spray it, and it will look like watercolor. It will look exactly like watercolor. All you have to do is ink up that stamp with either straight up distress ink or distress oxide ink, and then spray it, and it will turn into a watercolor instantly. Done. Simple, easy watercolor. The main thing that you want to do before you move on to any next step with this is to make sure it is dry. 100% dry. Do not even remotely attempt to do the heat embossing over top of this unless you have made sure that it is dry. When I did this the first time on camera here, I used Silver Sparkle Nuvo embossing powder. In person, it is absolutely gorgeous. In pictures, it does not show up. Because in real life, as you can see there, see how when the light hits it just right, you can see it, but when it doesn't, it's really kind of distorted looking. What I ended up doing off camera was I went back and I remade the panel. I added, instead of doing it the first time in silver embossing powder, I actually embossed it in black embossing powder, and then shifted the panel literally a teeny 1/16 of an inch, not even a 1/16 of an inch, just this teeny tiny little bit. And then I embossed over top of that in silver embossing powder, and it looked so much better. Actually, you can see it right here because that's what I just did, and you can actually see the words with that black behind it. It worked so much better and looked just absolutely gorgeous. And the silver in person is great. If you're not going to photograph them or anything, try the silver because it looked pretty. But I just couldn't get the detail in the pictures. They were just really distorted, so I went back and did that so you could see it. Now, for the panels, I cut the actual watercolor panel down using the largest of my stitched rectangle frames from MFT. And then for this one, I actually cut it down just a little bit smaller. I am using blue painter's tape, and I like to take the tack out of it really, really well with my fingers to make sure that it doesn't get hurt, destroyed, etc. Running through my die cut machine, I use a Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine, and run it through my die cut machine. And then we're going to mount this one on some black cardstock, and then mount it directly onto a top folding note card. Then the other one, the actual watercolor one, we are going to take that one and mount it. I thought maybe on purple, but I didn't like it, so I just straight mounted it onto the top folding note card. Don't forget to head over to the Hedgehog Hollow and get your monthly kit and your subscription. I finished these off using some like jewels and sparkles and teeny tiny little confetti stars on one, and I just absolutely love these cards. I love this month's kit. It's beautiful. So finish watching the video. I'm going to play a little music here at the end and enjoy. Head over to the Hedgehog Hollow and subscribe to get your monthly kit. It's definitely worth it. Oh my goodness, it's such unique stuff in the kit, the stamp sets and things. The next set of cards that I'm going to be doing, I may end up talking through this entire thing. We'll see. The next set of cards I'm going to be doing, I'm going to do some of those tall, skinny cards that everybody's doing right now that I have seen and really, really loved and just haven't had the chance to do. I'm going to be working on a lot of things this weekend, and hopefully we'll get some newer stuff out over on my blog as well, JillCameronCreations.com. If y'all have any questions, comments, love sharing some tips and tricks, don't forget to leave comments below in the video, and we'll see you soon. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can catch me on all of my stuff. Have a great day.